Hi everyone, and welcome to our Children and Youth Gathering video for January 24th, 2021. My name is Ann Ellis and I'm the Children, Youth and Family Minister at Mount Seymour United Church, and I would like to welcome you to our video for today. I'm so happy that you're here. This week, we are going to do our activity first so that we can use it when we get to our storytelling time, which is actually our poem sharing time because we're doing the Psalms today. So what you're going to need to go and gather is some cardstock or cardboard, some pieces of thicker paper. Construction paper would also work just fine. You want to grab 2 pieces of it at least, if not more. And then you're also going to want to get some scissors and a glue stick and a marker, depending on how you're going to make these cards. And you're going to want to print out the template that came in the email to your families or is in the link in the description below. And it says Holy Listening Stones, and we're making Holy Listening cards because it's just a little bit easier to do. So you're going to want to go and get those supplies so you have them ready because we're going to do this first. Now, if you don't have these supplies on hand right now, that's okay. Don't worry about it. When you do get some cardstock or some construction paper, you can make the cards. In the meantime, I'll show you how to do it. And of course, you can come back to this video later and make the cards later on. So pause this video right now if you need to go gather your supplies. And then when you come on back, we'll be ready to begin. So let's just take a couple moments to breathe. And to remember that here at Mount Seymour United Church, we welcome everyone. And you are welcome here if this is your first time tuning in to a video, or if you've been watching videos for as long as we've been making them. And you're welcome here again if this is your first time visiting with us, or if you've been coming to Mount Seymour United Church for so long, it feels like a second home. And you are welcome here no matter how old or how young you may be, whatever your marital status, your financial background is, you are welcome here. And you are welcome here whatever your gender identity or gender expression or sexual orientation is. You are welcome here whatever your cultural or heritage background. You are welcome here if you consider yourself to be a Christian, or if you're part of another faith tradition or another religion, or if you're not a part of any religion at all and you're just curious. You are welcome here. And you are welcome here if you're seeking the ideals of justice, peace, and compassion. You are welcome here. Mount Seymour United Church is located on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Tsleil-Waututh people, who have been stewards of this land and this water and this air from time immemorial. And we express our thanks and we express our gratitude for having the opportunity to live and work and play in such a beautiful part of the world. Thank you. When we gather at Mount Seymour United Church, we light a candle every week. And we do that so that we remember someone who did such wonderful and such amazing things that people just had to follow him. And once, when they asked him who he was, he said, "I am a light in this world." and we share sometimes these words by Hildegard of Bingen, a 12th century nun who lived more than 800 years ago. And she said, God hugs you. You are encircled by the arms of the mystery of God, and you shine so finely it surpasses all understanding. This fits with our theme of right now in this season of Epiphany, where we're talking about how God holds us and holds our lives. And it's helping us as we explore the Psalms. So as I said already, this week we're making holy listening cards. And so you need to grab your supplies because we're doing that first. And because I forgot to mention it before, make sure you also have your Psalm 23 booklet for our closing prayer at the end of this video. So there's two different ways that you can make these cards. One is by cutting out each of these symbols and gluing them onto a piece of cardstock. And so then you would need your scissors and your glue stick. Or you can draw them onto your cards, in which case you will need your scissors and your marker. But either way, we're going to start with making the cards. Now, this is the way that I found easiest to make the cards. I take a piece of cardstock and fold it in half, like this. And then fold it in half backwards like this. And then fold it again. So what you're going to end up with a piece of cardstock that's accordion folded and will have 4 columns. Then take your piece of cardstock again and fold it the opposite way, like this. And then again, you're going to fold that back like that. So like this. So then when you open it up, you're going to have columns and rows of 4 and 4. And that will give you a number of squares, well, rectangles, that you can use to make your cards. Now there's 28 holy listening symbols, and so you need to do that for 2 pieces of cardstock. And then you will have a few extra rectangles left over after you cut them all out. So then what you can do with your cards or your cardstock, now that you have it, is decide whether or not you're going to cut out each of these symbols and glue them onto a card. So like this, I'll give you an example. Or if you want to take your marker and draw the symbol onto each card. So I'm going to cut this out a little bit rough, and you can cut them out with a bit of a border or right around the stone or whatever works for you. And then take your glue stick. Ooh, almost knocked off over the table. Put some glue on your card and glue your symbol on. So you do that for all of the symbols. and then cut out along the folds, and you'll have all of your cards made. I decided to draw my symbols onto my cards with a marker, and so I did that instead. I drew all of the different symbols on. It's really important to remember that there is a blank symbol. You can see on the Holy Listening card sheet down here, there's a blank one. And that's really important. You need to have the blank one. So now would be a really great time to pause the video again so that you can finish making all of these cards, as I'm not going to record me cutting out every single one of these. It's a really long video. So you can pause this video now and finish making your cards. And if you don't feel like doing that right now and you just want to keep watching this video and finish your cards later, that's totally cool. So what are Holy Listening cards and how are we going to use them? So the symbols on these cards can have lots of different meanings. And they can have different meanings if they're facing this way, or if they're facing this way, or if they're facing this way, or that way. And when each of us look at these symbols, we might think of something different. There is no right or wrong way to understand these symbols. They don't have a single meaning. They just mean whatever comes to mind when you look at them. Sometimes it's hard for us to find the right words to say or to express things that we are feeling. And a symbol or a picture might help us in the way that we might draw a heart to tell somebody we love them, even if we don't write down the word love. So these cards could help us to identify something about ourselves when words are hard. And also, sometimes we hear stories in the Bible that are a little tricky, and how we feel about them or what we think about them can be hard to express in words as well. And so these symbols can help with that too. And that's how we're going to use them for the next couple of weeks. We've been sharing Psalms through this season, and we've talked in previous videos how there are many Psalms, and there are a Psalm for almost every emotion that we might have, including emotions and feelings that we might not like very much or we might not be comfortable with. So these cards are another way of entering the Psalms so that we can try to understand them and understand what they mean for us. And that might work really, really well for you. And it might not work well at all. And that's totally okay. This is just one way that we can explore the meaning of the Psalms, and we can explore how we understand God and our relationship with God and understand ourselves. So here's what we're going to do first. I'm going to invite you to lay out all of your cards. And if you don't have your card set done, that's totally okay. I'm going to put up a picture of all the cards, and you can pause the video and you can look at all the cards. And I want you to think about which picture says something about how you feel today. And we'll see if we can start there with understanding these cards. So I'm going to put up that image, pause the video. And decide which card might say something about how you feel. So the card that spoke to how I'm feeling today is this one, which to me looked a little bit like a wave. And for me, it reminded me of feeling calm and relaxed, like I'm floating on the ocean, enjoying the day. So I wonder what card fits with your mood today and how you're feeling. And again, if you want to take a couple moments and pause this video so you can share your card and your feelings with somebody who's watching the video with you, please go ahead and do that right now. So this week we are going to read the first two parts of Psalm 62. And it's an interesting psalm because the writer talks about God being his or her rock. And of course, we know that God isn't really a rock, but that God can be like a rock. We have a song that we sing about that quite a lot. And so this psalm, like a lot of other psalms, uses symbols to represent God and to represent the writer's feelings and to represent the writer's feelings about God. So as you listen to the psalm, if you want to look at your holy listening cards and see if any symbol stands out or catches your attention as you hear the words, pick that card up. Pay attention to that. That might be something interesting, again, to share with your family or somebody who's watching this video with you. Or maybe a card will remind you about how you feel about God. And that's a good thing too. And of course, if you don't want to look at your holy listening cards or have anything to do with it right now, or your cards aren't finished, that's all good too. So let's get ready to listen to Psalm 62. For God alone, my soul waits in silence. From God comes my salvation. God alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall never be shaken. How long will you assail a person? Will you batter your victim, all of you, as you would a leaning wall or a tottering fence? Their only plan is to bring down a person of prominence. They take pleasure in falsehood. They bless with their mouths, but inwardly they curse. Selah. For God alone, my soul waits in silence, for my hope is from God. God alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall not be shaken. On God rests my deliverance and honor. My mighty rock, my refuge is God. Trust in God at all times, everyone. Pour out your heart before God. God is a refuge for us. Selah. So I wonder if God is like a rock for you. And I wonder if you have a symbol for God. And I wonder if there is a holy listening card that fits this psalm for you. For me, the symbol that came to mind is this one. Because I hear the words of the writer saying they feel as though their enemies are trying to push them over like an old fence, and they feel battered down. And I would guess that we've all had days where we felt like we just can't do anything right, and whatever we say or do seems to just make people mad. And then we try to maybe fix it, and somehow we just get them even more mad. And I think that's what the writer of this psalm was feeling when they wrote it that day. I might be wrong, but that's what I hear in it when I read it right now. And they also seem to be remembering and thinking about how they found refuge from those feelings, remembering that God was a rock, was stronger than any of their enemies or so-called enemies, and that God would protect them from the dangerous things. And so when I look at this symbol, I see a wall, I see a barricade, like holding back the forces that are present in the psalm. And it reminds me that God is solid and will hold back the forces and will hold me safe and protected, like the writer of the psalm says. I'm curious to know what your symbol from the psalm might be, or what your symbol for God might be. I am surrounded by symbols for God. As I film this video, I've got an image of arms hugging the world with a heart, which can be a symbol of God. We've got a candle, the symbol of Jesus. We've got stars, symbols of God and Jesus, and a cross with a heart on it. There's a rainbow to remind us that God loves everyone. There's lots of different symbols, and sometimes symbols speak better to us and speak more to our hearts and our own souls when we use them instead of words. So we're going to close our time together. So we're going to close our time together by reading a little bit more. So I think we're at the end of Psalm 23. So I hope you have your booklets. I finished coloring mine, so I've got colors all the way through. And today we're going to read the whole thing through. And then maybe next week we'll see if we can read it without using the booklet. Or maybe we'll cover up the words and we'll try to remember it just by looking at the pictures or the symbols. We'll see how we do. So God is my shepherd. I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. God restores my soul and guides me in paths of righteousness for God's name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, and you anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of God forever. I think I'd like to read it one more time. God is my shepherd. I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside quiet waters. God restores my soul and guides me in paths of righteousness for God's name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of God forever. Amen. Thank you so much for being with me today. I miss all of you. I wish we were able to see each other in person. I'm looking forward to when we're going to be able to do that again, which I think is still going to be a ways away yet. But know that I think about you and I pray for you and I miss you and I can't wait to see all of you again. And I'll see you next week for our next video. Okay.